Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
I've done a lot of British ones. I'll do this. I think I'll do this one right now. I love this channel, by the way. Hi, guys. Where are my manners? Hello. Hi. How are you? Sometimes I like to lean forward and I feel like I might be out of frame, like this. Oh, that's great. So I like to check. That's good. Yeah, so we will do this one, but let me pick out do did it set we'll find it after. Hi guys, original link to the video top of the description, right below that, link to the Discord, click on it, send you right over there. Love to have you. If you have watched my videos in the past few weeks, you know I hold this channel with high regards. You know what I'm trying to say. Preemptive like Rick Steves Europe. Let's go. Scottish Islands. Let's do it. Like always, guys. I love seeing all your comments, but when I watch a video and see the places, they're all usually really beautiful. If you live around there or have been there, just let me know down there, and if you like it or don't or whatever. I like seeing those. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Rick Steves back. Hi, I'm Rick Steves back with more of the best of Europe. This time, we're getting to know the locals, and that includes the seagulls. We're exploring the islands of Scotland. Thanks for joining us.
Ooh, that Germany one. I've done West England, I've done Southeast England, I've done Cornwall, I have done Wales? France? No, Germany? Or Netherlands.
Scotland's islands may be on the distant fringes of Scotland, but those who venture here are richly rewarded. As if fortified by the powerful sea, these fabled isles are protectors of tradition, each offering dramatic landscapes, a rich heritage, and a warm welcome. While Scotland has countless islands, we'll visit what I consider the most rewarding. Iona, with its tranquility and ancient Christian heritage. Skye, with its remote and rugged landscapes.
There's oh my god, from a different angle in the Ryan Shirley videos, also similar to Rick Steves Europe. Love them. There's the thing.
Yeah, I'll react to that,
And
sure.
Oh, you will. Thanks. That was my other video.
Orkney. Skye, with its remote and rugged landscapes. And Orkney, with its prehistoric wonders and fascinating World War II history. The United Kingdom includes England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. Scotland is ringed on the west by the Hebrides Islands. We'll venture from Oban to Iona and
Shetland.
Staffa, then Skye, and then in the far north, sail to the Orkney Islands.
Where are the Shetlands?
Oban's been the unofficial capital of Scotland's west coast ever since the train arrived back in 1880. The hub of the local ferry system, this low-key resort is nicknamed the Gateway to the Isles. Oban's harborfront is lined with Victorian facades, recalling the early arrival of tourists just over a century ago.
Ooh, what's that?
Before then, its economy was dominated by fishing. Even today, a tiny fleet stays busy. When the rain clears, sun-starved Scots enjoy their esplanade and the beach. The townscape is dominated by its busy ferry port. The port has long been a lifeline to the Hebrides Islands. Today, it's a popular springboard for island adventures. The best day out from Oban is the 3-island tour, and we've caught the early ferry on our way to Mull, Iona, and Staffa. Right away, we're immersed in grand island views. Be on deck to make the most of the experience. After an hour, you approach the Isle of Mull. Everything is coordinated, and the bus is standing by, ready to take us across the island. Enjoying the drive, you're struck by the pristine scenery, the sparse population, and how Mull feels hardly touched by civilization.
Guys, grass.
across the
Sorry.
island. Enjoying the drive,
what
you're
was I gonna
struck by
say?
the
Oh yeah,
pristine scenery,
shoot.
the sparse population,
Right here, it looks so much like Maine, like the Atlantic coast. Atlantic coast is the only coast of Maine, the Maine's coast. But instead of Maine, which is a lot of there's the coast and then a lot of oh my God, a lot of like pine trees and stuff like that, and kind of mountainous and everything. But so very similar on the beach to Maine, but off the beach, very different, where it's more of like this beautiful green, grassy hilliness, whereas Maine is more just pine trees and pine trees and pine trees. Sorry.
and how Mull feels hardly touched by civilization. On the far west of Mull, another ferry makes the short crossing to the Isle of Iona. Iona is tiny, but with a big history. It's just one village, 3 miles long, 150 people, almost no cars. It's famous as the birthplace of Christianity in Scotland.
What's the purpose of, you see a lot of these types of crosses, but with the circle, going around right here. What is the purpose of that and the origin? Anyone?
In Scotland.
The year was 563. A nobleman who became Saint Columba fought a battle over in Ireland. He won, but was so sickened by the bloodshed that he left his homeland, vowing never to return. According to legend, this was the first piece of land he came to out of sight from Ireland. He stopped here and built a
freaking neck.
church. This was the first piece of land he came to out of sight from Ireland. He stopped here and built a church, which eventually became this abbey.
Iona became a center of Celtic Christianity. From here, St. Columba's monks spread the gospel throughout Scotland. This remote little island was a center of art and learning back when most of Europe was almost illiterate, mired in relative darkness. The exquisitely illustrated Book of Kells, this is a copy on display in Dublin, is perhaps the finest piece of art. Book of Kells, this is a copy on display in Dublin, is perhaps the finest piece of art from Europe's early Middle Ages. Monks wrote it here on Iona in the 8th century. Over the next centuries, Columba's monastic community grew in religious importance. The abbey became the burial place for chiefs and kings. According to legend, dozens of ancient kings, Scottish, Irish, and even Scandinavian, rest here.
After many generations, in about the year 800, Viking raiders were terrorizing coastal communities all across Western Europe, including Iona. After one terrible massacre, 68 monks were killed right here on this beach. The survivors packed up their treasures, including the precious Book of Kells, and returned to Ireland.
Today, a thoughtful calm pervades Scotland's holiest of islands. After centuries of pillaging, little remains of the original abbey. But if you're interested in tranquility and a bit of meditative peace, Iona is a fine place for a break from your busy itinerary. Next, a fast boat takes us to our third island of the day, Staffa, famous for its bird life and striking volcanic rock formations.
Again, like the Giant's Causeway, just kind of makes sense. It's relatively,
Our captain gives us a dramatic sneak preview of the fabled Fingal's Cave. He then drops us off for time to explore. Walking across the uninhabited island, we head for the hidden nests of a colony of Atlantic puffins.
Puffins can fly?
Of Atlantic puffins.
I had no idea.
We wait patiently and quietly, observing hardworking adults bringing home a fishy breakfast for their chicks.
Oh, wow. Nicely done. Good hunter.
Hiking along the base of the cliffs, using Staffa's distinctive 6-sided basalt columns as stepping stones, we reach Fingal's Cave. Peering into the geological darkness,
Can you
so
swim in?
surrounded by nature, I savor the moment. Enjoying the interplay of the sea and the rocks, I think of the generations of romantics who've stood right here and been inspired.
How deep does it go in? Can you swim in?
Geological darkness. Peering into the geological darkness, so interplay
Hard
of the
to see.
sea and the rocks, I think of the generations of romantics who've stood right here and been inspired.
Keep leaving my cursor.
After enjoying our three-island day, we're driving farther north. The drive's scenic, the roads are good, and the traffic's light. Ferries connect these islands with Scottish government-subsidized fares, keeping island hopping inexpensive. Next up, the rugged Isle of Skye. Offering some of Scotland's best scenery, the Isle of Skye is understandably popular.
Is this
Narrow,
where the
twisty
thumb
roads
is?
wind around Skye in the shadows of craggy, bald mountains.
Get the F out
and
of
the
here.
coastline is ruffled with peninsulas and of craggy, bald mountains. And the coastline is ruffled with peninsulas and sea locks or saltwater inlets. Skye, while Scotland's second biggest island, about a 2-hour drive from south to north, has only 13,000 residents. And it's been that way since the Highland clearances back in the 1800s. That's when wealthy landlords decided sheep were better for their bottom line than people. Landless peasants were driven out, and to this day, the island's population is half what it used to be. While plenty of tour buses cover Skye, it's a great place to have your own wheels. The island is dotted with scenic roadside attractions. The Sligochen Bridge offers a classic Skye view and a good reminder to stop the car and get out. The Coolin Mountains tower high above, and above the bridge looms the cone-shaped Glamag Hill.
Around here, people really know how to have fun with nature. As a matter of fact, every summer there's a race from the bridge to the top of that mountain and back. Last year's winner, 44 minutes.
Yes, sign me up. But what the heck is that? If that's not a volcano, which I don't think, when I think of volcanic places, I don't really think of the British Islands or you know, Scotland, wherever in Britain. It looks like an anthill. It looks like you photoshopped an anthill and then enlarged it in this picture and then put it here with some grass on it. It's so perfectly formed. The only things I know that look like this are landfills and volcanoes. And if it's neither, how is it formed? I so want to do that. I want to run from here to the top and back.
Top of that mountain and back. Last year's winner, 44 minutes.
If you know where to look, the island is strewn with the scant remains of past civilizations. Just a short hike from a handy parking lot is Skye's best preserved Iron Age fort, Dunbeg.
Voice crack.
To get the most out of our Isle of Skye road trip, I'm joined by my friend and fellow tour guide, Cullen Mares. Exploring this prehistoric stone tower connects us with Skye's distant past. Exploring this prehistoric stone tower connects us with Skye's distant past. Judging from these stones, the tower once stood much taller. I love scrambling through ruined castles, and this one is particularly evocative.
Am I weird that... Maybe I am. I don't care. I'm that weird person who just... I wish... I've said this so many times. I'm beating a dead horse. A lot of redundancy. Beating myself, but... Just going to a super old wall, or like Hadrian's Wall. Are the stones in Hadrian's Wall that were laid during the times of Hadrian of the Romans, the same stones making it up or that are there now were placed there by Romans. I would just to go. I said I was being weird. What I meant is that I just want to go and touch stuff like this, and just knowing that a human being hundreds of years ago touched that stone and put it there. You know, I'm probably weird, but I don't care.
Well, people have been living on the Isle of Skye for thousands of years, and this place, if you imagine, it probably had a timber frame inside, 3 stories high. They would get in here and under times of attack. They could gather in here, the community, men, women, children, and their domesticated animals, and we think this was built around about 2,000 years ago.
Skye's best home base is the town of Portree, nestled deep in its protective harbor. Portree, with its
I just want to say, there are a lot of stone walls around here that are maybe like 100 years old or maybe a little bit older, but a ton of stone walls around where I live, because around here there was a lot of farmland long ago, and so farmers who till the land, get it ready for crops. It's very rocky soil in New England, right? And so in that process, they're going to have to dig up a lot of stones, and then you don't know what to do with all of them. And so they would just make stone walls, And I wonder if all of these are from that same sort of process, like trying to farm land, or if they were just taken from just laying around or near the beach or something.
Skye's best home base is the town of Portree, nestled deep in its protective harbor. Portree, with its narrow streets and humble shops, restaurants, and hotels, is the island's largest town and tourism center. As Skye gets more and more popular, Portree gets jammed with visitors in the summer. The harbor side, once busy with its historic kelp gathering and herring fishing economy, like the rest of the town, is now dedicated to tourism. Fish and chips is a standby for a cheap lunch. Grab a spot and enjoy the view. But be on guard. Those seagulls are hungry too. Hey! Well, the gulls are well fed. And
what was that laugh that just came out there? But what was I going to say? Jesus Christ. Come on. Oh, yeah. I remember. It's funny how, we call chips fries. Chips to us are like potato chips. But the only time that we do call fries chips is with fish and chips. And I remember growing up being like, I didn't know that's what British people called fries. And so I always kind of wonder, like, why am I getting French fries? Why isn't it called fish and French fries? Sorry, just little story. And
now
probably wasn't as interesting as I thought it might have been. But
enjoy the view. But be on guard. Those seagulls are hungry too. Hey!
Oh my God.
Well, the gulls are well fed, and now it's our turn. Time for a pub lunch. We're here in July, and every restaurant in town is busy with tourists, many escaping the heat of southern Europe for the cool of the north.
Don't tip.
Places that take pride in their food have raised pub grub to new levels. Creative dishes, fresh vegetables, and salads.
Wow,
and
everything looks super, super fresh.
Anywhere in Britain, I go for the local beer. Here on the island, it's Skye Gold. The highlight of our Isle of Skye visit is driving around the scenic Trotternish Peninsula. The coast is lined with jaw-dropping cliffs plunging into the sea. This one's nicknamed Kilt Rock because its volcanic lava columns look like pleats in a Scottish kilt. A steep climb.
Volcanic lava columns. Look, you can see like what you're used to seeing, the striations in Earth as you go down, kind of, they're horizontal lines, right? And then these vertical volcanic lines. How does that happen? How does it create horizontal cuts? I mean, vertical.
The
I can't
columns
talk.
look like pleats in
Ah.
a Scottish kilt. A steep climb inland leads to a trailhead at the summit of the Trotternish Ridge.
That's heaven.
Man, we're lucky to have a place to park. Skye is well discovered these days, but you can still get away from the crowds. Make a point to get out of the car and take a hike.
I was wondering about the scale. Wow.
From here, we enjoyed the easy walk across a dramatic escarpment called the Kirang.
They're just sheep chilling right
Across
there.
a dramatic escarpment called the Kirang. Hikers are richly rewarded, enjoying unforgettable views of the Isle of Skye and the distant mainland. In addition to the stunning scenery, there's history and heritage in the land. We stopped at a peat bog that tells a story. Until a generation ago, bogs like these, where organic
Harvested?
matter is slowly working its way to becoming coal, were harvested to heat homes.
So this is a peat spade.
Yep, so that's used for cutting the peat.
Is this the stuff just more dried out than the videos you see on TikTok or YouTube Shorts of like people jumping on what looks like marshy, like swampy grass, but it's like a waterbed? Is that peat moss too?
Peats. And it's,
So this is a peat spade.
yep, so that's used for cutting the peats. And it's a task like chopping firewood. It's a matter of survival, really. Peat was really important for people historically in the Isle of Skye. So you would cut the peat from a bog like this, then you dry it out first, put it on the fire, and that lets off a sweet, smoky smell. It's used through the harsh winter, heats the home, provides a fuel source for cooking. It's used widely in the whiskey industry, and I really love the smell of burning peat.
So that's not dirt. Like that's not. It looks like very root infused dirt, but that's not dirt. You're telling me that's not dirt? It's well, peat or plant matter.
The fine little Skye Museum of Island Life explains how a typical Skye family lived back in the days
vast
when
roof.
peat was vital to survival.
So what is this?
So this is a crofting community, and it shows how people used to live in Skye.
The
This
first
was
ever
quite typical
wheel.
in the 1800s, and a croft is basically a small-scale farm. So small-scale subsistence farming. They didn't own the land, but they lived off the land and paid a rent as well.
So this is where the family gathered.
Yep, this is a typical household setting for 1800s Skye.
So the kitchen would have been where the action is.
Yeah, so they're all around the hearth. You've got the peat burning on the fire, and that's burning day and night. People gather around here, and they've got things to keep them amused, keep them entertained. They've got a Bible in the Gaelic language, because they spoke Gaelic here.
Cadbury. How old is? Oh no! Damn it! Jesus, I can't. $18.24. Was that Cadbury hot chocolate?
To keep them amused, keep them entertained. They've got a Bible in the Gaelic language, because they spoke Gaelic here. They've got musical instruments, and that would give them some entertainment as well. People would get together and have a ceilidh. So a ceilidh is a get-together. They have a bit of a gossip, a bit of a drink, maybe some whiskey, and then that leads into playing some music, some dancing, and we still use the term ceilidh today.
So they'd gather around the peat fire, they've got their whiskey,
The pipes
they've got their bagpipe, their fiddle, and their accordion.
Yeah, what else do you need?
and the actual smoking point.
Neighbors.
Yeah.
Farm communities like this had to be self-sufficient.
Neighbors.
Yeah.
Farm communities
Sorry,
like this
I'm
had to
spazzing out right now. I have to chill. Chill out.
be self-sufficient.
Neighbors.
Yeah.
Farm communities like this had to be self-sufficient. A blacksmith made all the tools, and clothing was woven from local wool.
The people here were self-sufficient to make their own clothes as well, and they basically could take the wool from their own sheep, they'll spin it into yarn, dye it, and then weave it into tweed on this loom. So the loom was kept very busy.
I hear the word tweed a lot when I'm in Scotland. What is that?
So tweed is basically a coarse woolen cloth, and very famous from this part of the world. The most famous really comes from the neighbouring island of Harris.
Oh, the Isle of Harris is just over there.
Yep, there's Harris.
The north tip of the Trotternish Peninsula is marked by the crumbling remains of the Duntullum Castle. This was the first stronghold on Skye of the influential MacDonald clan. It
Glencoe, isn't that the family that betrayed? Isn't that the family that, like, I'm gonna get this wrong and look like an idiot. Isn't that the massacre? I don't know what I'm talking about. Is it?
offers another wind-blown chance to savor how history and nature mix it up here on the Isle of Skye. For our final island, it's a 4-hour drive across the mainland and up the northeast coast of Scotland. Before catching our ferry, we make a quick stop at the northernmost tip of the British mainland, John O'Groats. It's a fun stop for tourists to snap their been there, done that photo with the landmark signpost. But for us, there's more. Orkney.
How far away am I?
Marks.
I am 3,230 miles away. Or about. I'm close enough to New York that.
Fun stop for tourists to snap their been there, done that photo with the landmark signpost. But for us, there's more. Orkney looms just off the coast.
And isn't the Shetlands?
The Orkney
Nice
Islands,
grass.
perched an hour's ferry ride north of the mainland, are remote, historic, and, for the right traveler, worth the effort. Orkney's dramatic cliffs and rock formations seem to herald a different world. The ferry lands in the tiny port of Stromness. Stony and humble, you immediately feel an island kind of charm. Orkney's landscape is mostly flat and bald, with few trees and lots of tidy farms. The blustery weather keeps the vegetation low and scrubby. Trees just can't grow in the Orkney winds. With its sparse population, the island has no traffic lights. Most roads are
Repeat that?
The blustery weather keeps the vegetation low and scrubby. Trees just can't grow in the Orkney winds.
Trees can't blow in the Orkney wind. I wonder if it's more of a problem for the trees not being be able to withstand the wind because they get too tall, or too tall to deal with all the wind, or if reproducing is difficult because it'll like blow the seeds so far away that it just won't.
With its sparse population, the island has no traffic lights. Most roads are single lane, and driving here is a joy. Fine sandy beaches seem always empty, as if lying on them will give you hypothermia.
I'm pausing, okay?
Sandy beaches seem always empty, as if lying on them will give you hypothermia. Orkney, an archipelago of 70 islands, has about 25,000 people. The main island is called, confusingly, mainland. The vast majority of Arcadians live in Kirkwall. Tidy and functional, this town's buildings are more practical than pretty. Its pedestrians-only main drag leads from the cathedral down to the harbor. It's a workaday strip, lined with simple shops and busy with locals who all seem to know each other. At the harbor, fishing boats bob and ferries fan out to nearby islands. Today's economy is based mostly on North Sea oil and fishing. The local pipe band brings a ruddy, distinctly Orcadian groove to the town center. It's a toe-tapping energy as everybody gathers together. St. Magnus Cathedral towers above the town center. With centuries of tombstones and its weathered red sandstone, it's a reminder of a long-ago era that shaped this island's culture.
The church was built in the 12th century when Orkney was ruled by Norway. In fact, it was part of a Norwegian parish. Norway is just 170 miles across the sea. The Vikings established Orkney as a trading post in the 9th century, and it stayed under Norwegian rule for 600 years. That's why this culture feels more Scandinavian than Celtic. The old Orcadian language, many town names, and the folklore, all Nordic.
Stepping inside, you're struck by the stout and harmonious Romanesque design, with its arcade of round arches leading to what must have been an awe-inspiring high altar in the Middle Ages.
I'm so impressed by the arches, especially the longer, further back they were built, further back in time. Because I feel like with any arch, you have to make all of these. And I think like any small mistake or like slightly off you are in each part of each arch, then like you're going to be way off towards the top. I mean, what do I know? Maybe it's not as difficult for them as I'm thinking, but the fact they're all just perfectly.
Been an awe-inspiring high altar in the Middle Ages. Orkney is small, and its countryside charms are just minutes away by car. To get the most out of our time here,
You
we're
know what I was
joined by
about
my
to say.
friend and fellow tour guide, Kinley Francis.
Beauty and ancient history. Orkney has two big draws: World War sites and some of the best prehistoric sites in Northern Europe. Orkney at one stage was the center of civilization back in the Stone Age.
The island is dotted with monuments recalling the island's distant past. The stones of Stennis, part of a dozen stones that made a big circle, are a reminder that 5,000 years ago, Orkney had a busy civilization, with more people then than there are here today.
I wonder how far down they have to bury it and for it to be stable.
At the far western shore, Skara Brae illustrates how some Neolithic people lived. They hunkered down in subterranean homes, connected by tunnels.
There's a big community, 150 people living here at one stage. A third of the village remains. 2/3 were taken away by the North Atlantic. People lived under the ground in stone-type igloo buildings with turf roofs. And they lived under the ground to keep the weather out, to keep them warm. They were powered by oil lamps with whale oil and whalebone basins, and a very nice-looking community.
And all of this was accomplished without the use of metal tools. This, after all, was the Stone Age, before people learned to make and use metals. A few miles away, sitting quietly in what seems like just another field, is a remarkable burial mound. Maeshowe is the finest chambered tomb north of the Alps. For 5,000 years, people have lowered their heads to enter this sacred place.
North of the Alps. That's wow.
Wow, this is great. Tell me about this place.
This is a burial chamber. And to our right and our left and behind you are 3 tombs. On winter solstice at sunset, the sun streams through this position here and illuminates the back chamber. The stone is sandstone, and it's been hand carved and corbelled, vaulted into position to make this beautiful chamber. And how Neolithic man managed to build this structure, no one really knows.
Wait, that's so cool.
The stone to make this beautiful, no one really knows. Our streams on winter solstice at sunset.
So in Scotland, which is pretty darn far up there, up north, longitude, or far up north. So on the shortest day, where the sun is going to be lowest on the horizon, and at the latest time of day before the sun sets, you know, is the only time where like the sun is that far down that it can still shine through this short little shaft. That's so cool.
The sun streams through this position here and illuminates the back chamber. The stone is sandstone, and it's been hand carved and corbelled, vaulted into position to make this beautiful chamber. And how Neolithic man managed to build this structure, no one really knows.
Just don't say. We give so little credit to. He didn't. He just said we don't know. Yep.
Sure, no one really knows.
Orkney's Arc of Scattered Islands forms one of the world's largest natural harbors. It's called Scapa Flow. In the 10th century, Vikings sheltered their warships here. And 1,000 years later, in the 20th century, so did the British. Scapa Flow was a critical base for Britain's Royal Navy.
Back during World War I, to prevent German U-boats from sneaking between the little islands that define this harbor, dozens of old ships were intentionally sunk to block the gaps.
You can still see many
Okay,
of
so I wonder immediately, you know, Scotland is a big place for, you know, World War artifacts and stuff like that, a World War history. But it makes sense if the Germans want to get any of their ships or submarines into the Atlantic, they're not going to go through the English Channel because that'll be full of, you know, being able to be caught, noticed, and killed. So the best other option is going over Scotland. So that makes sense.
these block ships breaking the surface today. But they didn't really do the job, as Britain learned tragically at the start of World War II.
In 1939, a few weeks after the start of the Second World War, a German U-boat slipped through a position just like this into Scapa Flow and torpedoed a British battleship at anchor. Over 800 men were lost. As a result of this, the British sent tens of thousands of troops here to Orkney to fortify the island with gun batteries and ships and airfields, and it became known locally as Fortress Orkney.
Was he saying one like this, or that the submarine went here? How deep is that?
Britain built barriers to make the harbor safe from more
I'm
surprise
pausing a
attacks.
lot, I know.
Winston Churchill visited and decided to connect the islands by building causeways out of concrete blocks. Today, tourists drive along these Churchill barriers
Always
as
still
they
sketchy.
explore the island. Orkney's most charming wartime site is its Italian chapel.
Italian prisoners of war helped to build the Churchill barriers. They were given these two prefab Quonset huts, and during their free time, they were allowed to scavenge whatever wartime scraps they could find to decorate them. They built a beautiful little Catholic chapel that reminded them of their homeland.
Inside,
a nice
you can
story.
see the creative work of those Italian prisoners. Light fixtures made from ration tins, candle holders fashioned from brass shell casings, and painted windows with the illusion of radiant stained glass. Above the altar, Mary holds the baby Jesus, who holds an olive branch, a kind of prayer for peace. The chapel was completed in 1944, just 2 months before the Italians who built it were free to go home. These Scottish islands each have a distinct personality. Orkney with its quirky history. Iona with its spiritual heart. Staffa with its remote wildlife. And Skye with its majestic nature.
Jesus.
I hope you've enjoyed our island adventure
Yes, I
across the
have.
friendly and scenic fringes of Bonnie, Scotland. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
I'm
Steve.
Rick Steves. Until next time, keep on traveling.
I love these videos. I love you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Can't wait to see your comments. And that's it for me today. It's 8:30 p.m. Wednesday, and I will be putting these out tomorrow. It is Wednesday, right? Yeah, Wednesday, February 15th. Bye, guys. See you next time. Later.